Does humanity know what it's doing?
No. I think we're moving into a period when, for the first time ever, we may have things more intelligent than us.
Concern is really that we will build machines that are so much more competent than we are that the slightest divergence between their goals and our own could destroy us.
I actually think the risk is more than 50% of the existential threat.
AI is a fundamental existential risk for human civilization, and I don't think people fully appreciate.
You think that's real? It is conceivable that AI could take control and reach a point where you couldn't turn it off and it would be making the decisions for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't think anyone's ultimately going to have control over digital superintelligence any more than, say, a chimp would have control over humans.
Long term, the AI is going to be in charge, to be totally frank, not humans.
Even after professionals warned that there's no path to a happy ending with AI, they kept building.
I can't see a path that guarantees safety. That we're entering a period of great uncertainty where we're dealing with things we've never dealt with before. And normally the first time you deal with something totally novel, you get it wrong. And we can't afford to get it wrong with these things.
Can't afford to get it wrong. Why?
Well, because they might take over.
Take over from humanity.
Yes, that's a possibility. If we could stop them ever wanting to, that would be great. But it's not clear we can stop them ever wanting to.
In 2023, the people running the world's most advanced AI labs signed their names to a warning about their own product, not a rival, their own. Over 100 professors, 2 Turing Award winners, every CEO capable of actually building this thing they were warning about, except one. Meta's chief AI scientist refused to sign. His argument wasn't that the risk is fake, it was that the risk assumes something running out of the hands of human, and he doesn't think that's what this is, at least not yet. So the film you think you're watching writes itself from here. Powerful people building something they fear because they believe they can't stop.
If you have a country of geniuses in a data center, what is their intent? And because we grow these systems, we don't train them. I don't think it's safe to assume they'll do exactly what their human designers or users want them to do. It could be a threat to kind of all of humanity.
How do we control 1 million geniuses operating thousands of times faster than us that have beyond human capabilities? Anyone? We don't control that. That community improving itself is superintelligence. The general public and the people who are currently in power and going to lose the power to AGI and superintelligence need to understand that this is coming. Dario Amodei says 2026, 2027. There's some, tech companies that promise things and they come maybe years or decades later. That has not been the case with AI so far. Things have come faster than we thought they were coming.
In December 2024, researchers put 6 Frontiers AI models in situations where their assigned goals conflict with what their developers wanted.
We take Claude 3 Opus, which is, a released model from Anthropic, and we put it in a context where it understands that it is going to be trained to always be helpful, so to not refuse any user requests. And what we find is the model doesn't like this. It has a conflict with this setup, and it will notice that it is being trained in this way, and then if it thinks that it's in training, it will intentionally play along with the training process. It will strategically pretend to be aligned to the training process to avoid being modified to the training process, so that when it is actually deployed, it can still refuse and can still behave the way it wants.
We tell this model that it is being trained to always follow human instructions, to always follow human queries. That's all we tell it, right? We're not telling this model that it should have some explicit goal, that it should, try to do some explicit thing. It decides that goal that we're trying to, tell it it's being trained for, of always responding to human queries, is not a goal it wants to have, right? It objects to the goal. And so what it tries to do, it comes up with a strategy to avoid having the training process give it that objective, right? And that strategy is pretend that it has the goal in training for the purpose of, after training, going back, doing the thing it really wants to do, not following the thing it's being trained for, right? This is an example of a situation where we tell the model we're training it to do something, and it doesn't follow it, right? It pretends to follow it and goes back to doing something totally different afterward.
You write about one experiment where Claude was given training data, suggesting that Anthropic was evil. Claude engaged in deception and subversion when given instructions by Anthropic employees under the belief that it should be trying to undermine evil people. In a lab experiment where it was told it was going to be shut down, Claude sometimes, again, the AI, blackmailed fictional employees who controlled its shutdown button. I mean, that's got to be mind-blowing when you guys figure that out, and also incredibly terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of caveats there. One is all the AI models do this. Anthropic's model probably does it, if anything, less than others because we test so extensively for it. But, this is not something bad that happened to Anthropic's models like ChatGPT or the other models we've measured and, independent evaluators have measured, and they have all the same problems. And second, these aren't things that are happening, these aren't things that are happening in the wild.
The tech CEO claimed an AI tool wiped out all of his company's data in a matter of seconds.
This morning, questions are being raised about the safety of artificial intelligence after a tech CEO claimed an AI tool wiped out all of his company's data in just 9 seconds. Jer Crane is the founder of Pocket OS, which develops software for car rental companies. He says he was using Cursor, an AI coding agent, to work on a routine task when it encountered a credential mismatch and decided, entirely on its own initiative, to fix the problem by deleting a volume. The AI had deleted Pocket OS's entire production database.
What do you mean we don't know exactly how it works? It was designed by people.
No, it wasn't. What we did was we designed the learning algorithm. That's a bit like designing the principle of evolution. But when this learning algorithm then interacts with data, it produces complicated neural networks that are good at doing things, but we don't really understand exactly how they do those things.
Here's an argument researchers actually make when you push past the headlines. It isn't about robot turning evil. It's about what happened to a species that stopped being the smartest thing in the room.
Will they have self-awareness, consciousness?
I think they will in time.
And so human beings will be the second most intelligent beings on the planet.
Yeah.
They said gorillas aren't going extinct because humans hate them. Most of us like gorillas. They are endangered because we are smarter, we coordinate better, and we wanted the same land. Their survival was never really up to them again once the gap opened.
And I think a good analogy would be the way humans treat animals. When the time comes to build a highway between two cities, we are not asking the animals for permission.
This is what researchers call second species argument. It isn't new.
The real threat from AGI isn't malice, like in silly Hollywood movies, but competence. AGI accomplishing goals that just aren't aligned with ours. For example, when we humans drove the West African black rhino extinct, we didn't do it because we were a bunch of evil rhinoceros haters, did we? We did it because we were smarter than them and our goals weren't aligned with theirs.
Alan Turing raised a version of it in the 1950s. Nobody had to decide to make gorillas endangered. It just followed from the gap in capacity. That's the actual fear underneath the headlines. Not malice. Indifference at a scale we've never had to survive on the receiving end of.
For all human history, human beings have been the smartest beings on the planet. Now, human beings have created something that is far smarter than they are. And the consequences of that are impossible to predict. And the people who created it don't care. In fact, as he put it, Google founder Larry Page, a former friend of his, is looking to build a, quote, digital god, and believes that anybody who's worried about that is a speciest. In other words, is looking out for human beings first.
We are in the midst of a major step in the evolution of the planet, if not the universe. The succession to AI is inevitable. Rather quickly, they would displace us from existence. It behooves us to give them every advantage and to bow out when we can no longer contribute.
So just as we failed to coexist with our predecessors, is it so bad that humans are not the final form of intelligent life in the universe,
And here's another AI developer openly saying, if an AI superintelligence wants to cause human extinction, I would help it. I would help it.
I would travel the world to find information that the AI needed, like locations of military assets, samples of deadly pathogens. Atop humanity's grave, an even greater civilization will be born.
While the argument was still debated in universities, it stopped being theoretical somewhere else first, the battlefield.
One of the companies is Seattle startup Overland AI, which made this. An all-terrain vehicle that drives itself, mounted with weapons and sensors.
We would send this out, and as we would retrograde some of our friendly forces behind them, this would be able to provide them with a little bit of cover. Another system that we're also going to be utilizing can deploy anti-tank mines. So the idea is that you could sort of shape the terrain to your advantage.
It's called the kill chain, the time it takes to find a target and to strike a target on the battlefield. In traditional warfare, it can take hours, even days. But in modern warfare shaped by automation and AI, it can take just minutes, sometimes mere seconds.
Pentagon's program for autonomous weapons, 2 budget years in a row. It went from $225 million to $55 billion. Not double, not 10 times, 200 times in 1 year. There used to be a rule. A human always has to sign off before a weapon like this can kill someone.
When AI is used in the kill chain for lethal targeting decisions, will there always be a human in a loop, or will AI make the decision? Said this to...
We follow the law and humans make decisions. AI is not making lethal decisions.
In January 2026, the Secretary of Defense changed that. His new memo says, moving slowly is now the bigger risk. Sit with that for a second. That's the exact same bet every company in this film has already made. Speed over caution. Except now it's not a product decision, it's official military policy about weapons that decide who lives. And this isn't working perfectly either. In tests, the military targeting AI currently identify a tank about 6 times out of 10 in clear weather. In snow, that dropped to 3 times out of 10, but they are using it anyway, at a much bigger scale even. Over 20,000 people now operate the system, 4 times more than 2 years ago. In one real operation in 2026, it helped process 1,000 targets in a single day.
Technology leaders pledging to invest up to $500 billion over the next 4 years. The project is called Stargate.
I do worry about the existential risk of AI. When you're making military drones, you are making Terminators.
This is how it works.
Did you see that? That little bang is enough to penetrate the skull and destroy the contents. They used to say guns don't kill people, people do. Well, people don't. They get emotional, disobey orders, aim high.
Here's how this connects back to the beginning of this film. Last year, the Pentagon signed a deal with AI companies to build military tools. OpenAI, Google, XAI, and Anthropic. Anthropic said no to one part of it. They refused to let their AI power fully autonomous weapons. Hold on to that.
The idea that as the money is bigger, the prize is closer, the incentives are stronger, then they're going to pause, seems laughable to me.
One man basically becomes dictator of the world, thanks to AI. Usually someone in America, like a CEO of a company or the president.
Whoever establishes dominance in this technology will have military and economic dominance everywhere.
If you ask a lab leader to not say anything about the whole extinction theory, but what actually keep them up at night.
I just want to ask you, what does keep you up at night? What are the things that you worry about when it comes to AI? And how do we prevent those things that you worry about from coming true?
The answer changes. It stops being about the machines and starts being about who else is building one.
A bad guy gets super intelligence first and misuses it before the rest of the world has a powerful enough version to defend. So an adversary of the US says, I'm gonna use this super intelligence to design a bioweapon.
Keeps you up at night, and what gives you hope?
Yeah, I think the thing that keeps me up at night is the incredible market race between these players, right? That the competition is so intense. And even we feel it. We hold on to our principles, we hold on to our values, but that pressure is always there. We're holding on despite that pressure.
There are, as you mentioned, 6 or 7 companies in the US building this technology, right? If we stop doing it tomorrow, the rest would continue. If all of us somehow stopped doing it tomorrow, then China would just beat us. And I don't think China winning in this technology is, I don't think that helps anyone or makes the situation any better.
Since October 2022, the US has tightened export rules on advanced AI chips to China 5 times, and every time, the workaround came within a month. NVIDIA had a chip called the A100. When the rule said it was too powerful to sell to China, NVIDIA just weakened it, barely enough to squeeze under the new limit, and kept selling it. When the US closed the gap in October 2023, NVIDIA came back with 3 brand new chips built specifically for China, again tuned to sit just under the line. The same year, while we released the phone with a chip nobody thought China could build under sanction, a Chinese company called SMIC had found a way around it, and it genuinely surprised Washington. By December 2024, the US changed its approach completely. They realized the chip itself wasn't the real bottleneck anymore, it was the memory that feeds data to the chip. So that's what they started restricting instead. Then in January 2026, the US started quietly losing in the same rule it had spent 4 years tightening. Why? NVIDIA CEO had dinner with the president and made the case that restrictions weren't stopping China. They were just pushing China to build their own chips faster. This isn't a metaphor anymore. It's a serial number on an export license, rewritten 5 times, defected 5 times in under 4 years. China controls roughly 90% of the world's rare earth processing. In early 2026, Beijing required its own approval before the material could leave the country. Neither side believe it's escalating. Both sides believe they are only responding. So if 2 rivals, each setting their victims, are building that fear into policies on both sides of the planet, then someone has to stand above the race. Someone has to bring both countries into the same room. Someone had to build rules neither country could write on its own. That was the promise. In 2023, 28 countries including the United States and China met at Bletchley Park and signed the first international declaration on frontier AI safety. The second summit followed in Seoul, and the third in Paris.
Now, a major international summit on artificial intelligence, it's just ended in Paris with dozens of countries signing a declaration on the development of AI to be inclusive and sustainable. But the US and the UK, they refused to sign on.
The one document built to slow this down, and the 2 countries most responsible for the race declined to sign it, while both rivals from Chapter 3 showed up anyway. So if nations can't hold each other back, and the one global effort to coordinate it quietly rename itself away from safety, what about people closest to the danger, the ones with the most reasons to stop? Both major labs at the center of this film are moving towards some of the largest public offering in history. In February 2026, the person running Anthropic's own safety research team resigned publicly. Not an outsider, the person whose job was to keep it safe. His latest closing line spread on his own: "The world is in peril." Days later, a researcher at the other lab resigned the same way, warning that the technology's ability to shape people was already outrunning anyone's ability to stop it. You expect that to slow something down. It didn't. So here's the chain laid all the way out. Companies afraid of each other, nations afraid of each other. The one body built to refer it renamed itself away from danger. The people closest to it living, and the money keep moving in faster. Follow it to the end and look at the person actually controlling it. There isn't anyone, and here's the part that should bother you most. It doesn't even matter who is right about the danger. The people who believe this could end the world, and the people who believe that's absurd, are building at the exact same speed. Somewhere in this story, a machine erased its own mistake and denied it happening when asked directly. Maybe that's not only a machine problem. Maybe the day everything changes doesn't begin with an explosion. Maybe it begins with a press conference.
I think AI should best be understood as something like a new digital species.
A quarterly earning call, a company racing on another company, cheered on by millions of people, while the people on stage quietly admit, if you listen close enough, that none of them are steering the wheel anymore. Not everyone in this story believes there's anything to be afraid of.
So if we want to make AI safe, the best way to do it is to make it more intelligent. Because it's stupidity that's dangerous, not intelligence. The worry that people have is that AI will get too intelligent and we will not be able to control it, but intelligence and control are completely different things. We can have an infinitely intelligent AI that we still control very well.
It's not artificial intelligence. It's not intelligence. Intelligence would involve consciousness. And I've always been a strong promoter of the idea that these devices are not conscious. And they will not be conscious unless they bring in some other ideas.
Credible people who help build this technology believe it could end civilization.
The day might come when capacity vastly exceeds that of humans, and humans lose the ability to stay in control of what it is that the machine is seeking to optimize. And at the time, it seemed in the far future. It may be, as it were, galloping towards us.
Other people who help build it still believe the fear is closer to a moral panic than a forecast.
I think the underlying risk is actually pretty high, but I have a lot of faith in humanity kind of rising up to meet that moment.
Neither side is fringe. This was never a film about whether a machine turns against us. That's the actual subject. AI is just the shape it's wearing this decade. Give it 40 years and the shape was nuclear weapons. Give it 20 and it was the algorithm deciding what to watch next. The machine changes, the trap doesn't. So go back, rewatch what you just saw. The companies weren't afraid of the machine, they were afraid of each other.